Alright, now for what I think was the best game of the week. Uh, my match versus Jenny. I think that this was a really good match all around. Let's just go through it here real quick. I think that the stealth rock mid-ground here is really smart, Jenny. We get a crit, which is pretty critical because it makes it a lot less comfortable for Klefki to be in. One thing that I would have liked to have seen you do here is knockoff, removing the leftovers. That would have been pretty important in the long run, as the chip heal on Klefki ends up being really important. And I'm throwing away HP on Klefki. Now, granted, Klefki has the ability to kind of do this because what is my answer for Dragonite? It's pretty clean as an answer. I make a blunder here, going to Excadrill. This should either be Volcanion or just staying in as Klefki. It should never be Excadrill here. So this was a mistake on my part. I think that once we take the damage, probably we still should go back into Volcanion. But through 5 turns here, Jenny, there's really no question. You have completely outplayed me. I don't quite have enough chip on Mamoswine to afford pressing a mid-ground here. I kind of have to force it out with close combat, which I do. And of course you switch into the right Pokemon. We go to Mew. Very nice. And essentially, this is a good trade for you. As Terrakions, very important for my team. You have rocks up, Excadrill is dead. Now my team is severely neutered because of my own mistakes. So I have quite a mountain to climb to get back into this game. But some misplays on your end do give me the angle. I'm able to knock off Mew. We see a Will-O-Wisp. Important to note that Seismic Toss would have been rather effective here. But Will-O-Wisp is fine. I U-turn. Fortunately, Regenerator means that Volcanion still has some play in this game. But the U-turn here gives me a clean look into Volcanion, who is, of course, incredibly offensively threatening. We see the value of spikes here, dealing 16%, negating the leftovers healing that we're getting. Shukaberry eats the hidden power, and we get off another Steam Eruption. I think I would have liked seeing you just stay in here, potentially. Because Florges is more or less dead, you could at least get 30% off of Volcanion, who has no ability to recover, because we know it's not leftovers. Instead, Mew comes in and takes a fat hit, which is really bad, because Mew is kind of your defensive centerpiece here. Without Mew, Terrakion is really challenging for you to switch in on. Any entry angle for it is quite scary. We see Mew Roost, and I'm happy to just keep clicking Steam Eruption. I think it's interesting that you're not willing to trade Roost for Steam Eruption PP, and instead we go to Mamoswine, which is obviously a blunder. I think that this doesn't really need to be discussed too much more. Of course, Mamoswine is honestly the most offensively threatening Pokemon on your team for me. I guess it's actually, now that I look at it, it's likely that this doesn't have knockoff because it's running Stealth Rock, which is interesting. But it's smart, because obviously the Stealth Rock are really annoying for me in this game. We see Dragonite come in. Thankfully, I have a clean answer for it. You could have chosen to simply Earthquake me here. Wouldn't have hated that on your side. Would have been really nice call out, but I force you out with Magnet Rise, giving Clef Key extra chip heal, and now Florges doesn't have the ability to threaten Cliff Key. So Cliff Key just gets to pick off Florges, and then Clef Key gets to neuter Metagross, who can't really touch it either. We see the Thunder Wave come out, and now Metagross is kind of fodder for Volcanion, who KOs it with the Flamethrower. And then at this point, I am just able to kind of trade down with you here. So I sack Volcanion to get free entry with Klefki, who uses Magnet Rise, and now threatens to neuter Dragonite or break Multiscale. Really similar in essence. They're not that different. I think I clicked Play Rough here because I find more value in potentially getting the Multiscale off. We go to Mew as a sack, and we just don't have enough time to win this game anymore. And I'm able to start crippling. I was happy to sack Klefki here. I luck out with Thunder Wave Paralysis, which is a little unlucky. We see 2 of those in this game. It's only a 25%, but I'm just able to kind of sack, position my Pokemon, KO you. You get another full para here, which is kind of brutal because I guess it doesn't matter too much, but yeah. Either way, it's not great, and Latias is just able to clean up here. Overall, you played well, Jenny. You made some mistakes in the early and mid game, or not the early game. The early game you played wonderfully. The mid game you made some mistakes, kind of converting your advantage. You let me back into the game, let me make progress against your team, which your team doesn't really have the ability to recoup damage very well. I guess you do technically probably have some recovery with Mew and presumably Florges, but it's not enough. Latias barely lives Dragon Claw and is able to clean up the deadly Teletubby, and I win. This was a really solid game by you, Jenny, because of that early game. If we are just a bit more aggressive here, I think that there is a very good shot that you would have just won this game. But you wasted just a bit too much time switching. Switching is a good move. I don't want to say that it's not. But switching can be a mistake. In fact, what was my biggest mistake here? It was this switch into Excadrill. I really underestimated the damage here. Where you're just hitting me like a truck, right? And this is just a bit of a disaster for me, as I have a dead Pokemon and Klefki chunked to 42, and you have rocks up, and I have no way to remove them. And you have all your Pokemon full health and a 60% health Mamoswine. But we spend just a bit too much time switching here. I put Terrakion in, use Close Combat, and I'm happy to go into Mew here. Mew's very annoying, really good Pokemon. I think that it showed its value in this game, but we do respond a little poorly to Volcanion. Which, to be fair, Volcanion is not exactly an easy Pokemon to respond to. We go to Florges, but Florges takes a bit too much to be comfortable. And I have Hidden Power Technology. And then we do another switch here, because I guess we're scared of losing Florges. But probably losing Florges is better than losing the health on Mew here, who is forced to take the spikes damage. If you notice, I don't have a very switch-heavy game plan from here on out, right? My switches are very calculated. Whereas your switches mostly just kind of let your Pokemon rack up damage, which is not ideal. My calculated switch into Klefki is basically arguing that you will press Dragon Dance there and threaten to sweep me, but Klefki is too clean an answer. I think that we need to think about how to get Klefki off the field, right? If I'm in your position, the game is about removing Klefki, because once Klefki is gone, then Dragonite, Metagross, and Hydreigon have pretty much free reign against my team. You did well in the early game to take Thundurus out, but we let Klefki chip heal a bit too much, and the game has kind of slipped away from us at this point, as Klefki has chip healed all the way back up to 60, and now Klefki's in against Metagross, who eats a para, which is not ideal. Metagross's speed is a big part of its power, and now, because of this, Volcanion is a clean answer to Metagross. The Deadly Teletubby comes in. That's okay. I sack Volcanion, as you can tell. I haven't done much switching in the past 10 turns, almost none at all. When I am switching, it's because I'm getting a free entry. Your switch here is essentially just a sack of Mew to preserve Dragonite's Lum or his multiscale, I'm not sure. And now I just sack Hydreigon, or not, I sack Tornadus against Hydreigon to get a free switch into Latias. I don't know what this Hydreigon set is. The reason I did this is because I thought it was likely some kind of choice variant, but Latias gets to chunk, or 2-hit KO Hydreigon, and then 2-hit KO Dragonite, and there's not much that you can do from this position. Terrakion can clean up with Rock Slide, and Klefki is nearly untouchable, sitting there with 51% as I win the game, after you dealt a solid like 75 against Klefki early on in the game. But really good game overall, Jenny. Really great improvement from week 1. Your team is very scary for any and everyone to prep for, and I think that if you can just find the right move a little bit more often, you should be contending with everybody else. Dean and myself and everyone who fancies themselves as a contender for PSL, which I see a lot of teams that have the goods to do that. So, good luck, Jenny. I hope that this is instructive. Perhaps I am spending a little bit too much time talking about my mistakes. If we want to review precisely what your mistakes are, Jenny, The first mistake... Man, you play really good to start this game off. The first mistake doesn't come until... Man, maybe, like, we could call this a mistake. Maybe. Hard to say. Maybe not. I think I would have preferred the Hydreigon here. But, like, maybe your first inaccuracy doesn't come until turn 10. And I wouldn't say you make a... and then here's probably another inaccuracy on turn 12. Probably we should just be looking for more damage on Volcanion. And then this is kind of the game-losing blunder. This switch into Mamoswine. We should probably be sacking Mew or Florges. Because, yeah, it's just not the highest impact mon here. From this position at 20%, given how slow it is. Magnet Rise Klefki is a great answer. 2 D-Knight. But I do not think that, you know, we should be thinking about our losses. From here, I think I do a good job at closing the door on you as we start crippling your Pokemon and trading down. I think you really only made a couple mistakes this game, which, you know, is in really excellent kind of category, right? It's like we don't... Like, everyone makes mistakes, right? Like, even I make a number of mistakes in this early game. I say even I, like, but like, you know, I'm not that great of a Pokemon player, right? Like, I make mistakes all the time. Is really what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, just keep it up, and I think you'll have a good run here. I think that this, perhaps the takeaway from this match is we need to be switching with purpose, not just switching because we feel sort of lost for an answer, right? And sometimes losing a Pokemon and getting a free entry is better than having a critical piece get crippled because we're switching into it when we shouldn't be. Yeah, I guess that's the main takeaway from this one. I think you played well, Jenny, but so much to learn, and that's okay. That's exciting even. So, thank you guys for watching.